We are live. Welcome to the season finale of season 2 of the Learning Experience, hosted by Trainers Forum, where we talk about the art and science of learning, education, experiences. And this is a very special episode because we're wrapping up the second season. We've done over 40 episodes now, over 3,000 listens, plays of our podcast, and it's been an incredible journey. I am Oskar Woehr, and I have with me Mladen, Zivanovic, and Alexandra. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Once you introduce yourself, you can correct me, please.
I will do that.
Awesome. And so in this episode, what we want to do is reflect a little bit on our journey and introduce you a very special person, Alexandra, because she is going to be expanding the learning experience, transforming it into something beautiful and new. And me and Mladen are gonna take a step back and let our baby fly a little bit. So, as you've been listening to this podcast for a little while, you know that I was hosting it the first season, which was about 30 episodes. Then Mladen came on and pimped it out, got us an Instagram page, and hosted a bunch of episodes as well with some awesome people. And that was the season 2. And now we're wrapping up that season, and we want to transform it a little bit and give it over to some other Trainers Forum members, of which Alexandra and her team are going to do it. And she'll explain what exactly they're going to dive into season 3, because it's going to be a little bit different, where me and Mladen were talking about non-formal education and learning. And in the first season, I was mostly talking about tools for trainers and learning. So I'm super happy to be here. Thank you both for coming. That was a long-ass introduction. And for those live on Facebook, if you feel free to comment anything, any questions that you want us to answer at the end, we'll check them out towards the end of about 30 minutes. But of course, we're here to have fun and enjoy this last episode, which is quite sentimental, right? Like, pretty crazy that we've done so many episodes. Mladen, how do you feel?
I'm like, I can't believe we're ending, because I just finished editing the last, second to last episode. And it's just amazing that we went through all this like people and different topics. And even though we were talking about learning all the time, it was from a completely different perspective, and I loved it.
Yeah, you get to learn a lot. And so before we dive into what we've learned from this season, I'd love to have a little introduction of Alexandra. Like, who are you? What's your role in Trainers Forum, and why are you excited to be taking care of this podcast now?
Well, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra Vinczi. That is the magical, mythical last name. I am from Budapest, Hungary, and I am part of the Organizational Training Alliance of Trainers Forum, which is one of the circles that is mostly dealing with other student NGO representatives, other trainers who are part of other networks or organizations, and we are trying to provide them space and opportunities so that they get to talk with each other, they get to learn from each other, and just in general join in on this European community of educators that we are. And about me a little bit, I work as a freelance educator and also as a project manager and training coordinator for a Hungarian youth NGO, a nonprofit organization that is working with young people on the field and also preparing youth workers to go out on the field and change the world for a better place. And I have been in Trainers Forum for more than a year now, which is very strange because time is flying, right? And our goal with the new season, should I already start spoilering a little bit?
Say a little bit, yeah.
No? A little bit. So our goal with the new season is going to be bringing these organizations, these student NGOs that we are in contact with, a little bit closer to everyone around Trainers Forum and everyone who's have been listening to this podcast. So we are going to explore a little bit about this. How is it going in Europe on the fields of student NGOs and NGOs in general? So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction. that's very exciting, because that basically shows, and what I love about the third season is that it's going to be a lot more collaborative and bringing together the people that make Transform great. Like, it's open for everybody, Transform, but now we're going to be hearing more from those that are part of it and the ones that are leading the training space around Europe, which is super cool. So now I'd love to dive into, how was our second season? Because this is what we did after to start the second season. Also, we were talking about what do we expect, and now we can do in full training fashion the feedback and reflection of the 4Fs, if you want. That's what I like to do. And I'm not in to hop in. What have you learned? What's your how has this journey been for you, man? We'll start with you.
I don't know. I need like a more specific question, to be honest. First of all, it was very, like, I know in the first episode we discussed like getting that podcast voice. I don't know. I just talk normal when I record and everything, and then just it is what it is. So I don't change personality when I go and do a podcast. So what I've learned, like, can you actually be a bit more specific? Because there's so many things that we did.
Definitely. Let's talk about feelings first. How did you feel? How do you feel now after these 10 episodes?
I feel so proud, and I just recorded the last episode like 2 weeks ago, and it took me a while to edit it, and I think we're like finishing in style, like with this last 2 episodes. So the last one is with my colleagues from an NGO that I work for, and it's four of them and me talking about education and how we do trainings and sessions in the organization and empower youth to take steps in their future or steps in the organization to make like a value for their field and to go into the workforce afterwards. So I think starting with the first episode that we did together and then going towards the end, I always had this feeling that this is something that we're doing right. Like, we are discussing something that someone else can take, and there's many topics that would encourage people to take some actions, but also give them some different perspective and think about learning in a different way.
Yeah, I love that as well. That's what is very powerful about this, is that you don't need to just be talking to one person to have that impact, but on a podcast you can send it to anybody and they can continue listening to it and then share with friends, and sharing the knowledge of how to develop the education industry, which is really cool. Was there a favorite episode that you had from all the ones that you've done?
Don't ask me that, Oskar. Like, all the people that I've interviewed are my friends, and if I say I love one more than the other, they'll just kill me. So I have to save myself for maybe 4th season or 5th season of the podcast.
Until you come clean. Yeah, sure. Maybe a moment that you remember very vividly.
Well, what I wanted to say was that even when I was posting your episodes that you did, because I was always on social media, I get so excited that I'm posting and I'm like, oh my God, what are the reactions going to be? How are people going to see the episode? Even though I didn't necessarily listen to the whole episode that you recorded, I was like, oh my God, I'm posting it. It's another one. So it was just so cute.
Awesome. Yeah, when I saw the one going up for this week's episode, I was like, yeah, that's so nice to see it again. And I love the designs that you make. I mean, I've told you a ton of times that I was so grateful that you launched the Instagram profile so that we could have more a place for the podcast to be and for people to see it, and for it to be more visible in its own. So I think that was super cool. For myself, go for it.
Oh, no, I was gonna ask you now, how do you feel? What is the feeling that you had throughout the season, and then your favorite episode, if you can pick?
Yeah, it is tough. overall feeling, and great, we're all being co-hosts here. That's the point. I'm leading the discussion a little bit, but step in to be a co-host. For me, the general feeling is also one of a little melancholy towards the end, because like it's ending a project. And from one feeling that I remember a friend was sharing when she was talking to me about a conference that I was about to end, and she was like, get ready for the post-conference depression, because you end some big project that you've been doing for months, and then you're like, what do I do with my life? And it kind of feels like that, except not as intense, because the podcast isn't as intense as a conference, that's luckily. But I do want to move on to other podcasts or create something new, which is exciting. And yeah, I'm glad that I was able to take everything that I've learned from these 40 episodes that I've been through, and yeah, apply it to growing a podcast even more, and yeah, meeting more awesome people, because that's one of the best things about podcasts, is being able to connect with cool people and make connections. And yeah, overall, been very happy with it, and I'm glad that I can hand it over. Because if it's your own podcast, you can't really hand it over. If it's like the Mladen Zivanovic show, there's no other Mladen Zivanovic. So it kind of dies after that. But with a learning experience, it's part of a community. And that's the cool thing, is that people are learning what Trainers Forum is collecting as a community and sharing it together. And even if people don't necessarily come on the podcast, they can still learn and share with their friends to expand the knowledge, which is really cool. So even though we don't always hear from the people that listen at the podcast, we know that we're having an impact, because once in a while you'll be like, oh yeah, I heard you on that podcast, and even though you had no idea that people listen to it, but they somehow reach you in the end, and that's really cool. Yeah. So actually, same question to Alexandra, but for the future. What's something that you're looking forward to learning for the coming season?
Oh, wow. That's a hard one. I think what I'm really into learning about, and what is also something that as a professional educator to be, or a professional educator, I'm always trying to deepen, is how to get into the same vibe with people, how to truly impactfully, meaningfully connect with someone in a way that you're not just following a set of questions like a robot, but actually you have this flow, this shared, let's say, vibe. I don't find a better word or expression for it, but finding this vibe that, okay, you're in this discussion, you're not just asking the questions, but you're listening, you're paying attention, you have the same understanding, you can see when the spark goes on in the people's eye, and then you can just click onto it. That is something that I'm always trying to develop, because I think it's something that you can start to learn how to do, but you can never get to a level when you're just like, okay, I know how to do this perfectly. There is always like a next level of deepening connection. So I think that is something that I'm really looking forward to experimenting with. And then actually hearing about these student NGOs, it's going to be super, super exciting, because I know some of them. I know some of them by name. I know some of them by the people who share these, who are in these organizations. But then, really hearing stories and experiences shared, that is going to be, I think, something very, very educational for me as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's going to be, just from what you're saying there, that's really blows my mind, because you're basically going to be the person who's going to be able to connect all the student NGOs throughout Europe, because you're going to be talking to all the presidents, and you'll be like, I know that person, yeah. And and then, yeah, really making Trainers Forum the hub of where trainers from student NGOs can be present, and then, yeah, moving them to a professional environment as well. That's awesome. And I remember from my first episode, yeah, super nervous, had the questions written down, didn't know how to talk, even though it was with Radek, who was a super chill guy and a friend. But yeah, it gets easier over time, luckily. The first step is always the hardest, So it's super cool to hear. And yeah, facts, findings, feelings. What's your biggest takeaway from the season in Mladen?
I also wanted to say about that first episode that I recorded.
Yeah, tell us.
Because I was like, I'm gonna be flexible. I'm gonna be very organized, and I'm gonna make it nice. We actually never published that one. Like, I think people don't know that. So the first episode that we published after the introduction episode that we did was with Anka, and Anka and I recorded 2 episodes before the one that was published. And then that one, when we recorded, I told her, okay, Anka, this is great. If you say something that you don't want to say, we'll just do it over. And I also wrote a paper because I can drift away from the topic very fast. Or when I'm asking a question, it can be so long that people just don't know what I'm asking. So I just wrote on a big paper, I wrote, don't ask long questions, be very specific. So I had it in front of me, but actually because I don't know, for some reason I'm not looking, like I'm very focused on like recording, so I didn't even look at the paper. So those questions, of course, were here and there. But what was funny is that every single time Anka was not satisfied, because she's a perfectionist as well. She would just say, I have to do this again. I have to do this again. I have to do this again. So the whole episode that we filmed was like 2 hours, but I think out of that is maybe 45 minutes that was with like things that we had to cut and things like that. So when I approached her, because we were supposed to finalize some parts, when I approached her again, she said, let's just do it again. I'm in a different space now, let's just do it again. So we completely changed the concept of the episode, and that's the one that is out now.
Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that. 2 hours. That's crazy. Super funny, man. Yeah. So what's something that you liked that you learned from one of the guests, actually? Yeah. Biggest learnings, takeaways. None.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute myself. Yeah. Well, I think because I had Mirna Schmidt as a guest, and she's the person that I know the least from people that I had podcasts with. And also, so actually, if I don't know the person that I'm talking to, I learn a lot, because I also had Icelandic innovation team on one episode, and I was just like mind blown, like with their ideas and how they look at the things. Because, for example, Mirna comes from a completely different angle when it comes to learning and education than me, like, because I was studying education in my undergraduate studies and through NGOs and everything. So she's coming from a different perspective, and then innovation team comes from like completely like even let's say weirder angle when it comes to education. So just learning about that and just trying to have a conversation with them for a moment, because when I'm trying to go in one direction, it just goes like completely in a different way. And then even if I would assume how would I call the episode and what the episode was going to be about, it was always something different. So the funny part, not the funny part, but like the interesting part was also giving the names to the episode, because I can only give the name after I listen to the whole thing, and then, okay, this is what the episode is about, but not what originally it was. And even like I said, I learned more from people that I didn't know before, but even from people that I know, because we never had this specific conversation. So like non-formal education and connected to their field of work or their field of studies, something like that. It was interesting to just stay on that topic for 45 minutes or 1.5 hours.
True. Yeah, it's really cool to dive into a specific topic with the speakers. Like, trying to think, who did I interview? Oh yeah, I was like talking with Stefan about cultural communication. Like, I never put a word to it, but when trainers do this, or when they have signs that mean specific things, that's a type of communication, but like it's also just so much fun. And so, like, yeah, I hadn't had a conversation. I didn't know him that much, actually. But I hadn't had a conversation about cultural communication, because that was a topic I knew the least about. So I think from him I learned one of the most things. But yeah, it's really cool to talk to new people. I totally agree. Is there anything that you would want to ask about this podcast, Mladen?
Me, well, you know that I like funny moments and anecdotes. So what, because I've said like maybe already 2 of them or 3. So can you share some of them with us? Because I think people love this like random things.
Like maybe the bloopers that you put in front of your episodes, I think they're pretty funny. They're so stupid sometimes, but they're like the one I was started listening to, the one that we published this morning, last night, and that blooper that you put in front was pretty funny because you guys were just laughing, and I think that's awesome. Just getting people in a good mood, and really hooks people. I think people enjoy that too. Yeah.
So yeah, we decided that the beginning of the episode, like those 30 seconds or 40 seconds, or it's sometimes even shorter, that's going to be something from the episode, like, I don't know, related to the topic. So I'm always putting bloopers. Like for me, bloopers were so fun, and they're usually like something really, really short. Like I think with every single person there was a blooper, except like very professional episode for me, which was with Icelandic people. Because I approached them and they're like, yes, we're gonna do the podcast. We're very honored to do this. I mean, they didn't use those words, but like I felt like it was just like, you know, you go in a class and you need to do a perfect presentation. You're not allowed to say bad words or things like that. And then we were filming the episode, so that didn't have that many bloopers. But I also don't know them. Like for example, Mirna, I attended one of her sessions before, and then when we started talking, well, another anecdote from there. I didn't put it there in the episode, but it was so much fun. So she was talking about emotions in training, and it's such a nice topic. And then I'm drinking tea, but I'm muted. So and I had some cold. It was not COVID, and then at one point I'm just taking a little sip of tea, like from here there. And then I started choking. So she didn't stop, like she didn't stop talking about emotions in training, but like she can see me on the screen, like choking on tea. It was so funny. And then we finished, and then she said, "Are you okay?" Like after like 10 minutes of everything. So yeah, behind the scenes were very, very, very interesting.
That's so funny, and people don't really get to see that because we only did the audio mostly. Too good, man. That's awesome. And since we don't have too much time on this podcast, and we didn't want to make it too long as well, let's talk about the coming season, season 3, which is crazy. Been going since November 2019. Yeah, it's almost 1.5 years now. And season 3, as we said before, is led by Alexandra and a few other people who are helping her. And yeah, I'd love to know, what are you planning, Alexandra? What's the magic that's going to happen?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that we have super big shoes to fill. It's amazing how this podcast has been going, and it has been your baby, and you've been growing it, and now it's going to be very, very, you know, like an extra level of challenge to take something that is going so well over and make sure it doesn't hit the ground. So yeah, we have big shoes to fill, but our main idea was basically to find a way to bring these student NGOs closer to people, closer to the ones who are interested about trainings, who are interested about education, who are in this field of non-formal education, which in Europe I call the youth bubble, where basically everyone knows everyone. And just bring these people closer to each other, and also closer to maybe people outside of this bubble, so that we can maybe show them all of the great opportunities that these NGOs have. So the idea was this, and also to give some kind of, you know, value for these student NGOs, a place to showcase themselves and talk about their passions and talk about really cool initiatives and projects that they are doing. So yeah, I would say this is like going to be a very connecting season that we are planning. So obviously we are going to talk about a little bit of the background of these student NGOs and how they came to be. What is it that they actually do? What can they offer? Why is it such an amazing thing that all the people who've been in student NGOs or youth organizations, many of them stay and do this until they are not that young anymore. But still, it has this magic that makes people stick around and just want to contribute to it. So we are going to go after this, well, let's say, myth or this adventurous thing that what makes people tick who are working in these student NGOs, who are volunteering their time and their energy into doing these really cool initiatives and projects. And we are, of course, also going to connect it with non-formal learning, and I would say also informal learning, because, you know, organizing a conference, doing a podcast for Trainers Forum, you learn so much and it's not intentional, but still it is there and it's worth talking about. So we are going to have a lot of topics to cover, I believe, but we really hope that it's going to be something that brings the community a little bit more together.
Awesome. Could you talk a little about what are student NGOs, just for the people, a quick recap who don't know, and like what do these student NGOs do?
It is, I would say, really hard to try to give one definition for it because all of these student NGOs are doing so many different things, but let's try to summarize it in a way that these organizations, most of them that we are going to talk with, are going to be actual university student NGOs that operate on European level, but also local level or university level or national level. So with a lot of layers of working. And these NGOs collect students who are willing to do a little bit more, to, you know, volunteer their free time to organize events, especially learning events for other students. And then many of these student NGOs are connected by their field of studies. So we are going to have, for example, BEST, which is the Board of European Students of Technology. But we are also going to have organizations that are more interdisciplinary and they are more connected by values than their field of studies. So it's a very, very wide mixture of different organizations, but I would say the common thing that brings them together, well, one of them is the student life or the young life, being either young people in Europe or being a student in one of the European universities. And then another thing is, let's say, this set of values that you are willing to take on a little bit more, not just go into classes and then go home, but you're willing to give your free time and you're willing to get out of your comfort zone and do some adventurous thing like traveling to another country for a conference or organizing a conference and bringing a lot of foreign students into your own country. So these little extra things that make student life so colorful and so much fun, speaking out of experience, these are the things that connect these student organizations.
Awesome. Yeah, and I guess when people interconnect between them, then there's even more opportunity for people to travel or to learn between interdisciplinary fields. Like you're saying, BEST, Isaac, EFSA, the one for psychology students, those are the ones I know at least. And there are tons more, right? Do you have an idea of how many you're planning and what's the year or the coming season going to look like?
Well, it is still very flexible as we're in summer. So with student NGOs, summertime is is a bit holiday-ish. But for now, for sure, we have 5 confirmed NGOs coming. And then we are also planning on reaching out to some more. And we're also hoping that once the word gets out that we're doing this, also under other student NGOs that we already connected or not yet thought about will reach out to us. So this is also an open invitation for anyone listening. If you have a student NGO and would like to talk a little bit with us and join the podcast, then you know where to find us. I believe we have all of our availabilities shared. So
definitely in the description. And also,
Everyone is
Yeah,
welcome.
the podcast has an email. Yeah. Awesome. Do you think, what about expanding beyond Europe? Is that a thing? Are there student NGOs outside of Europe?
Well, I am 100% sure that yes, there are. Although since most of Trainers Forum is operating in Europe, we don't really have that much connection from outside of Europe. I'm not really sure how it goes, let's say in the USA or I don't know, South America. Would be super interesting to talk to some student NGOs from South America, to be fair. But yeah, I would say for now, our scope is more Europe, but let's hope that it will grow and expand outside of the European borders.
Amazing. Well, I think a couple last questions before we have to wrap it up. What's something that, you hope listeners to the podcast can learn from listening to the coming season?
I would say that one message for me is very important. And if that goes through, then I would be very, very happy and satisfied, which is let's say the power of volunteering, or the power of doing things that are not just mandatory, or you're not just doing them to get that degree or to get that job or to get that money to pay for your rent, but really going one step beyond and just volunteer your time and do something for others while you also realize how much you're learning. If this message goes through, then I'm a happy person.
Fantastic. Really glad that you're taking it over as well with some other Trainers Forum members. Mladen, do you have any final thoughts about the coming season or questions for Alex?
I don't have any questions. I think that their idea is super interesting. I'm someone who has been involved with, let's say, organization, not necessarily student organization, since I was 15. And then like my experience like in volunteering and like organizing projects is already, I mean, I always say that I'm 21, but like I'm 26, so it's 11 years, unfortunately. So yeah, it's amazing what each organization can do, and I think because the aim is also to connect people with those organizations. And as someone who now works in an NGO, and we just finished this episode with people from like European NGOs, and I think it's that connection that Alex said is the most valuable thing, because you also, this is something that you get for life, connections, be that on a professional level or on a personal level. But I would also say that it's like I have so many friends that I've met on these conferences, on events, even online. Like, for example, Oskar, we've never seen each other in person, but I consider him a friend because we've worked on so many different things together, and it's so amazing. And we're connected with Trainers Forum mainly. So my like wish for Alex and the team is that that this coming season will be impactful in that way, that more people will see the value of non-formal education that is happening in this organization, because it is something really special.
Amazing. As a person that was never part of a student organization, I wish I could have been, but I'm glad that I got pulled into it through other means, other people who somehow were linked to training and youth organizations. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, I tried, but it didn't happen. Awesome. Any final words or thoughts about this season, upcoming season, before we wrap it up? Mladen, Alexandra, been really an amazing conversation so far.
So I want to say thank you to Oskar. He has been so cool all this time. I think when someone tells you that it's just also very cool. But yeah, you did a great job mentoring me at the beginning, like with how we're supposed to do the podcast, how to do things here, because I also came with my ideas, and working with you was super easy, super chill. And I think we found like a middle ground and made this season like very, shape, because I wanted to have like a team, but also it has these like touches from the previous season. And yeah, I'm happy also that Alexandra is having her own idea and the people behind with her. And I think it's going to be, I think this project will last longer.
Awesome. Yeah, because she's got a couple of people supporting her as well. So that's going to be very cool. Fantastic. And Alexandra, any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, thank you both. First for this conversation. It was super fun and super chill indeed. And also for making the podcast into what it is right now. You're making our job very easy by having created what you have done. So thank you for all the hard work that you have put it in. And it's really an honor to take it over from here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to give it away to this and to see it continue to bloom. And yeah, also very grateful for this conversation, for the last year, the last few months with Mladen as well. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been, yeah, pretty great because it really connects us with awesome people around the world, learners, people who are passionate and who are passionate about the same thing that we are, right? Learning and education and helping people go beyond in what they're doing. So for anybody listening to this episode, if you want to be a part of it, if you want to be part of the Transform community, simply you can join our group. It's at Transform on Facebook, or otherwise transform.org is the website. There's also an email if you have any questions or you want to send a message, you want to say hi, podcast@transform.org. That's the email. Or simply send Alexandra a message on anywhere. I don't know if I'm just putting you on the bus right now, but Facebook, LinkedIn, or just message me or Mladen because we're quite the social media people as well. So yeah, and Mladen loves to design cool things on social media. And yeah, keep up the conversation with Transform. We're a little sneak peek. We might be organizing a conference next year in March in Greece, but nothing is announced yet. But for people listening to this episode, they get a little sneak peek, which is cool. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I don't know what to say. It's crazy. The handover is complete. Alexandra, thank you so much for coming. And Mladen, thank you for this journey as well.
So we officially check out. Good luck, Alexandra. And
thank you.
I'm gonna be watching what you guys do. So yeah. I don't have a doubt that you're not gonna do a good job. You're gonna be awesome. So just keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Amazing.